Blackstone Audio presents Hannibal, a history of the art of war among the Carthaginians and Romans down to the Battle of Pydna, 168 BC, with a detailed account of the Second Punic War, by Theodore Ayrault Dodge.
Preface. In the study of the campaigns of Alexander, original research has been limited to a few travelers and geographers, or to military men conducting explorations under the auspices of some government, and provided with facilities denied to most of us. In the case of Hannibal, it is different. Spain and Italy are accessible, as Persia and Afghanistan are not, and the topography of the theater of the Second Punic War can be readily examined and ascertained. No historian of Hannibal appears, however, to have studied his campaigns on the ground. Almost all accounts of his extraordinary marches, maneuvers, and battles borrow their topography, if they give any, from some predecessor equally limited in his facilities, or from very insufficient maps. Many errors have thus been propagated. The author has been fortunate enough repeatedly to visit the scenes of the Punic captain's achievements. With Polybius and Livy in the hand, he has followed Hannibal from Cartagena across the Pyrenees, the Rhone, and the Alps, crossing every pass in the latter range by which the Carthaginian army could possibly have made its way. He has visited every section of Italy and has compared the facts given by the ancient writers with the existing topography. He has been able to consult the best authorities as to the geological changes which the centuries may have wrought, and what he has herein described is from diligent study of the authorities on the ground. This course has enabled him to correct some errors which, naturally enough, have crept into history, and to harmonize some of the statements of the old authors which have been deemed irreconcilable. In the case of Cannae, for instance, all historians have found it necessary to discard one or more of the positive statements of Polybius and Livy, but a study of the battlefield has made it possible to explain the positions and maneuvers so as to coincide with every statement of these, our two most important authorities, as well as to accord with the probabilities. No modern historian of the Second Punic War has mapped out Hannibal's wonderful marches in Italy. Most histories are very inexplicit as to the exact locations and routes. The charts in the text of this volume will be found to show every essential topographical feature of Hannibal's movements over the length and breadth of the peninsula. Much of what was said in the preface to the volume on Alexander applies to this. The best chroniclers of the war against Hannibal are Polybius and Livy, whose relations are full and explicit. The former exists in its entirety only down to the Battle of Cannae, the latter covers the whole period. Cornelius Nepos, Appian, and Plutarch, in his lives of Fabius and Marcellus, give us many facts. The little which remains of Dion Cassius is useful. Florus and Orosius are meager. Stray facts may be gleaned from references in Velius Paterculus, Sallust, Justinius, Pausanias, Eutropius, Josephus, and the Maccabees. To the opinions of the great modern historians and critics due heed has been given. Practically, however, Polybius and Livy are the source from which we draw all our information. In a few instances, the author has been compelled to treat historical matter controversially, as in the case of the passage of the Alps, upon which subject he has found some 350 treatises, mostly devoted to the establishment of some pet theory. It has been sometimes impossible to state facts without controverting the opinions of others, if for no other reason than to show that they have not failed of due consideration. The first men who wrote exhaustively on the Little St. Bernard route were Wickham and Kramer. Their views have been stoutly combated, but most of them remain sound. In the case of the battles of the Ticinus, the Trebia, Lake Trasimeno, and Cannae, the author has been led by the topography of the several fields to disagree with many of the most highly considered historians and critics, but he has in all cases given his reasons for so doing. The author desires once more to disclaim the writing of a military textbook